There had been a tradition for every new sheriff that would come in to bring in a lot of members from outside the organizations, people that they were comfortable with, friends or people that they serve with, but not members of the Broward Sheriff's Office. And so I didn't think that was a fair process, and it allowed me to do something very unique, which was I promoted from within.
He saw a group of young men and women that wanted to lead. So he gave the opportunity. That's the only thing any leader can give you, the opportunity.
And we've developed close personal and professional relationships over the years, which helps us during times of crisis. And each of us has a unique perspective. We know the history of the agency. We've worked alongside each other.
And it was also important as I looked at promoting personnel to these executive level positions, from colonels to lieutenant colonels, even to our majors, was to ensure that we had a very diverse populace of employees who were making it up to those levels. And when I say diverse, I mean both black and brown members of the community as well as women. And within the last year, we had roughly 400 plus different promotions. Half of those have been women.
I was the first female colonel for the agency, as well as being the first female as well as African American undersheriff for the Broward County Sheriff's Office. And I am most proud of those accomplishments, knowing that I've impacted the agency as well as the community along the way.
Regardless of gender, we all have a responsibility to lead with courage and compassion. And I'm very honored to be part of this command staff.
We're looking out for their best interests, and that is building the best organization possible, not for me, but for the future, for people that I will never meet in my lifetime. We owe it to this community.
I'm excited to look at the continued leadership from dedicated BSO personnel, because I know with their leadership, supplemented with the vision and direction in which I'm taking the agency, we're going to be able to perform and provide the best public safety for the entire community. Accountability and transparency, it's essential for us to gain the public trust. You know, the things we've instituted to be able to police ourselves has been essential for the public to say, hey, we can trust this organization. We know that should the very few law enforcement officers that step outside the lines, they're going to be held accountable.
The sheriff has made it abundantly clear that he will support and back the troops in going out there and doing their job and give them the tools and training to do that. However, if they cross the line and they commit an egregious act of misconduct, it is his intent to handle that swiftly and with equally severe punishment for the violation that was committed. We did have some instances of high-profile, serious misconduct cases last year, and I'm sure many are aware of that. It started with the MSD tragedy case where 4 of our deputies were terminated involving that case, and we had a series of force-related misconduct cases throughout the year where there were additional deputy sheriffs that were terminated by the sheriff for excessive force issues in those cases.
One of the things I had learned early on was that we needed to ensure that we would hold our men and women accountable when they broke the policies and rules and the expectation that the public have when it comes to how they should be treated. And so we had to reinstitute a professional standards committee where we were fortunate to hire a judge to chair it and bring more balance in these discussion points where the civilians and law enforcement can have a constructive dialogue about what is really an appropriate level of discipline.
Professional Standards Committee is a committee consisted of about 11 people. 4 of them which are civilians and the other are management. It's the only one of its kind in law enforcement in Broward County. It's the only one that I'm aware of that has civilians, professional civilians, involved in the actual determination as to whether or not an officer or an employee of BSO has violated any of the laws or any of the sheriff policies going forward.
We are provided with great power by society. With that power, we must have controls. We must have policies, effective policies in place, and we must enforce those policies.
And so I'm confident that over the next few months and the next few years, this organization will have a solid reputation with the community and they will trust us. Growing up in the inner cities of Philadelphia, one thing that I had noticed there that was very unique was that the local police officers were tasked with what we referred to as walking the beat. The officers would walk in the community, they knew you by your first name, they knew your mother, they understood the social issues that were occurring inside of your community. And it created a closer bonding relationship with the people that wore the uniform. We never seen them as outsiders. And so I wanted to interject that into Broward County by creating our Park Walk and Talk program.
The goal of the Park Walk and Talk is to build a relationship with the community. People feel comfortable sometimes coming to you and telling you things that they may not have been comfortable with. If a crime was committed in their neighborhood, they might not feel comfortable just dialing some phone number that their neighbor gave them to call the police. So they come up to me, and it's happened many times, where they say, hey, listen, there's a house and there's a lot of traffic going in and out, and I just want to let you know, and we've actually cleaned up the neighborhood because of that.
Another key concept of community policing that I was able to establish was an idea I had years ago about a neighborhood support team.
Once Sheriff Tony decided which direction he wanted to go with community policing, he thought it would be a great idea to implement NST for the sole purpose of engaging the community through special events, HOA meetings, working with nonprofit organizations. Sheriff Tony asked the question when this pandemic started, what are we doing for our seniors?
Feeding South Florida and the Broward Sheriff's Office have a wonderful relationship. When this pandemic hit, the two organizations came together to figure out how to serve the community.
We have a vulnerable population of seniors that are not able to leave their homes. They're sheltering in place. Some of them are deathly afraid of leaving their home and going shopping. We have the vehicles. Feeding South Florida has the food, and we have the ability to deliver the food to the people who need it.
The Broward Sheriff's Office relationship is the best one we have, and the one that's most creative, and the one that helps the most families.
A key element of policing and serving the community is actually being able to engage with them in a positive level and utilize the resources that we have to build that social connection. And this was an important project for me when I started looking at what can we do to make sure we are issuing out funds and working with those different groups that need them the best, and then how are we going to get back into communities?
LATF is the Law Enforcement Trust Fund, and it's awards that are funded to our agency, to BSO, as a result of successful litigation and forfeitures. Awarded organizations include schools, community-based nonprofits, our Divine Nine African American sororities and fraternities, behavioral health organizations, foundations, and it really helps our residents because LATF promotes a safer neighborhood, ensuring that we have crime prevention, addressing our drug abuse, our opiate crisis, and also by helping divert youth from our criminal justice system.
When you examine the three core elements that we've introduced back into community policing between the Law Enforcement Trust Fund distribution strategy, the neighborhood support team, and our Park Walk and Talk initiative, it's clear that this is going to allow us to engage the community on a more positive setting, on a more routine basis, and that's going to bond this community together. We've been able to accomplish a multitude of significant things in this organization. First of which, we broke ground on building a $30 million training center. We built out a state-of-the-art real-time crime center to track and make sure we safeguard every single one of our schools in Broward County. And in addition, we've been able to put money towards training items and personnel which have lacked here for years.
Historically here at BSO, we have greatly outgrown the capacity for training facilities that we've had here. So the training center construction project is currently in progress. Currently it is at 80,000 square feet. It is 2 floors. It incorporates 2 indoor ranges, an indoor shoot house, indoor defensive tactics, multiple classrooms, an auditorium, and a vastly expanded administrative area. To finally have a training center that's capable of housing the training needs all in one place for BSO is critical.
Coming into the organization, it was clear that we were going to have to really up our training standards and our ability to be able to perform when it came to crisis management and how we respond to active shooter events. And I knew very early on we were going to have to break out of the paradigm of working just internal, meaning we're not going to be able to train and get the best techniques on our own. And so I launched an initiative with our training department to make sure we partnered up with the FBI, Homeland Security to bring in the most state-of-the-art training in terms of active shooter preparedness and response protocols, and we've had an enormous success there.
We've also offered civilian training. For instance, the first time in our agency, we actually hosted Active Killer, Stop the Bleed.
Since the Broward Sheriff Fire Rescue Public Education Team has been delivering bleeding control training and education to the community, we've trained about 3,600 people and delivered about 65 classes. Not only having access to the kits gives people the tools to respond if they need it, but having the education to go along with it so they know how to use the tools gives the best opportunity for somebody to make a difference and possibly saving a life.
We also learned from the lessons of Stoneman Douglas as well as what we've seen at the airport and broke ground on a state-of-the-art real-time crime center.
We have got a full 40-foot front video wall and a side wall as well. There are 20 workstations, everybody collaborating together. And in just a short period, we've built something that's pretty special, and it's actually showing results. During the last year, calendar year 2019, the Real-Time Crime Center, the detectives within handled approximately 640 live incidents. And I think it's important to note that we were giving live, actionable intelligence to police officers and deputies at the scenes of these incidents, where in the past they would not have had that.
So I'm excited to see the transition from going from a ill-prepared agency to being the top trained agency in the country. Our recruitment strategy here at BSO is quite simple. We want to hire the very best people that can be reflective of the community in which we're serving. And that's going to incorporate diversity, not only within the minority community, but also for our women population who are so often not given fair opportunities in the law enforcement profession.
Diversity is not just saying we're diverse. We have to show it. We have to make the community feel that they're welcome at our door. And we can close the door off and just say the words, or we can go out to the community and say, come on in, make a difference in this organization, make a difference in your community. My mantra is, we go where the candidates are, and we're going to bring the best and the brightest to this agency.
One of the huge things that we did was to go out to historical black colleges and start recruiting there. We also looked at the initiatives of looking into our military bases and utilizing members who are already accustomed to service, but also taking a look back at applicants who maybe didn't get a fair chance or an opportunity to be employed here. And so the recruitment strategy we have now is to seek out more diversity, give people a fair opportunity, and share the great things that we have in this organization.
The Legacy program is one of those opportunities to help the communities.
Legacy program is a paid internship that's going to relieve the financial hardship of paramedic school and EMT school and fire academy.
The main idea of the Legacy program is to break down barriers. One of the #1 barriers for firefighters is economics. Oftentimes, people don't know it may cost upwards of $15,000 just to put an application in. So what we're doing is going into the community, into our high schools, identifying those young men and women that want an opportunity but cannot afford it.
It's also going to give us an opportunity to mentor our folks that we have in the program. And by having it out there, we're going to be able to have that exposure where students, family members alike could look into a field that they probably never thought of before. If we put one person through, we're not changing one life, we're changing multiple lives, because now you have multiple eyes on this person and their journey.
And so as we continue to push out recruitment initiatives, our goal is to become more reflective of Broward County, not so much for hiring within Black and Brown in the community, but also having the fair representation in one of the largest public safety organizations in the state. On a typical day, our command staff, our threat management division have access to examine and look at the issues that are occurring in the school and making sure that our children are safe.
Having the Safer Watch app and having a tool to use on your phone just creates that easy avenue for someone to be able to take a picture or send in a text message and conveniently and privately send that information directly to local law enforcement to review.
Essentially, we're building all this so that we can prevent crime, and if crime does happen, we can stop it immediately, as opposed to reacting, possibly getting there 2 or 3 minutes after an incident, not knowing what happened, and our bad guy might be in the wind.
A parent was picking up their child at a bus stop after school, and they realized that as all the children are coming off the school bus, there was a white van parked behind the school bus, but no one was getting on his van. So they thought it was suspicious, and the parent took out her Safer Watch app, took a picture of the license plate, took a picture of the individual that she thought was suspicious, and that information immediately went into the Broward County Sheriff's Office Real-Time Crime Center. they were able to run that license plate. The license plate came back as a registered sexual predator. They were able to immediately put that out over the radio, and they were able to find that individual 30 minutes later, and the person was still looking at children, and they were able to apprehend him and make contact with him.
And it not only gives the public a sense of security and safety in terms of are their children okay in the schools, but it also gives me ability to know that we're doing everything that we can to protect our most valuable assets, which is our kids.